Aloha family, this episode is brought to you by Archon Mounts. Go to archon.com, that's ARKON.com. Get your hands on a very robust, sturdy tripod. Whether you're a content creator with video or audio, you like doing podcasting, maybe you do TikToks, YouTube shorts, or you're on old school Meta, Facebook, go to archon.com, that's ARKON.com. Get yourself a tripod. If you have DSLR camera, all that heavy duty types of equipment for media, well, Archon's got it all. They've been putting your devices within reach for the past 30 years or so. They've been one of my very, very, very gracious sponsors. And so go to archon.com, that's ARKON.com. Get your hands on some really good quality mounting solutions for your devices. Be sure to check out to put in Hawaii, that's HAWAII, and you'll get 20% off your entire order. Once again, that's archon.com, ARKON.com. All right, here we go. So we are live, family, on Twitter, X Spaces. And today we're going to talk about, is X or Twitter shipping out too many products? We'll be live in a few seconds. All right, I think that's long enough. Anyways, for those of you that are jumping in on replay or live, that's weird to say that when I don't have a video, but we're going to talk about, is X shipping out too many products? For anybody that doesn't know the language, I don't really know the language. I just heard one of the founders of a social media application on a podcast the other day, and I've never really heard that terminology, ship. When a product is shipped, it literally sounds like you're putting something in the mail. But I guess that's the language that they use in, Silicon Valley or in the tech industry. So that's the question of the day: is X shipping out too many products? And so there's so many ways to go about that question. And as a friendly reminder, if anybody wants to jump up on stage, I've got actually myself and Tala live, but I'm gonna give her a microphone anyway. There's been, I would say, at least 10 different things that have been launched here on X, on Twitter. And then again, for those of you that are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Twitter, the world of Twitter was shook when Elon Musk paid, I think, $44 billion for the application. And so with that came a big vision. And one of the things I heard the other day was Kayvon Big Poor, who was I label him as the godfather of live streaming. And he's actually one of the forefathers of Twitter Spaces or X Spaces. And we'll talk about that as we kind of move forward. We talked a little bit about it the other day in our last Spaces we did when Tala was actually here. She was one of our, she was coughing. She was coughing. I was burping. So that was one of the things we talked about was, are they shipping out all these products at the expense? So if you look at the title, it says at the expense of DAU or retention. So for anybody that doesn't know that terminology, DAU stands for daily active users. Let me pull up some stats real quick and then we'll open up the floor. So from demandsage.com, the daily active users, or let's go to monthly. The monthly active users is 619 million as of April 2024. So it sounds pretty good with 200. Actually, I'm reading a different number. So if you've got 619 million active users, and this is April. So that's so far. And so here's another stat. It says that 60% of Twitter users are men, while 39% are women. Most of the audience, 38.5%, belongs to 25 to 34 age group. So that's definitely not me. I'm 48. And then with 105 million, they have the United States has the highest amount of active users. So that's that stat. And then let me go ahead and read one more number. I'll open up the floor if Tala has anything she'll just drop in there. So here's the revenue. Twitter registered a revenue of 3.4 billion in 2023. Now I don't know what amount of that is profit, and just showing revenue. Twitter generated 1.75 billion in revenue in the United States, while the rest of the world accounted for 1.65 billion in revenue in 2023. And then the last thing I'll read is that there's a little graph, and I'll put it up in our purple pill for reference. Twitter, or X, is the 12th most popular social media platform globally, and that's based on active users. Okay, so here's, I'll just do the rundown. Facebook number 1, YouTube number 2, WhatsApp number 3, Instagram number 4, TikTok number 5, WeChat, Facebook Messenger has its own category, which is interesting. I guess there are people that just go onto Facebook Messenger versus going on the Facebook ecosystem. That makes sense. Telegram, Douyin, which sounds probably Chinese, Snapchat. I've never heard of Kuaishou. They have 685 million monthly active users. And then X and Twitter falls in at number 12 at 619 million monthly users. So that's where we're at. And how you doing, Tala? Thank you for grabbing the mic. Tala is an easy speaker / co-host. She's very easy. We were kind of trolling each other earlier, but how you doing, Tala?
So, I mean, I agree that because we've talked about this before, they need to fix what we've got. It's like, ooh, a shiny toy. Let's add this. Let's add that. I just want to see the stuff we've already got working correctly. I mean, today was a good, today was a good illustration of why.
And nobody says anything, right? And so it leads to the question. So for those that don't know what we're talking about, there was this feature that was on X, on Twitter, for at least 7-8 years for iPhone users, which allowed you to draw on the screen. It allowed you to, draw with fancy on-screen crayons, if you will. So I'm trying to paint the picture. Well, come 2024, you've got a new ownership, quite possibly some new engineers on the team. I'm pretty sure a good portion of the leadership stayed on board. Well, they have today. We're playing around with the live stream portion with our cell phones, right? And Tala was live earlier. And by the way, for those that are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Tala is a content creator. You can look her up, Tala_no excuses on all socials. So she was live, and then we tried to play with that sketch feature, and it totally closed out the app. And the funny thing is, nobody knew. There was no announcement made. I don't even know if they knew.
We might have been the first ones to discover that it wasn't working correctly.
Well, yeah.
I mean, who uses it? You know what I mean? Like you, me. I thought about it. I was like, I did use it some in the past, but only on Periscope. But I know it was working here before you, because you used it.
Out of the 619 million users that actually use it, I think we might be the only two. We might be.
We might be the only two left that even know about it. Yeah.
And the people that know, because I've publicized it, they probably don't even care, or they're like, oh, they've got special skills. No, it's like it's on the app. But it leads to that commenting.
There was like one other person out of the Hawaii broadcasters who used to use it. I'm trying to think of his name, but he did the scopes down at the beach at sunset all the time.
Not Al in Tokyo. What was his name? I forgot his name. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, he had a really nice stabilizing
He was
Yeah.
Hawaii Scope, I think. I forget, not Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
but
Something like that.
yeah, he was he's a very private person,
Mm-hmm.
but he was good. He was,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I had to be the first victim. And it's man, the second you touch the screen, you saw it because it when I got you back. I thought that I swiped myself out of the broadcast. Nope. And I don't know what could they have possibly done to just selectively screw up that one feature.
well, what it is, I don't think they know, because it's like, for those that are wondering what we're talking about, when Twitter, I'm just going to say Twitter. I have a hard time saying X. When Twitter works on a new product, or they're about to ship something out, from my experience, if anybody doesn't agree, they can, I mean, I could care less if you agree or disagree, but you can always fact check me. But for example, they put out a product on Twitter Spaces where you could turn on your video camera. Well, in the middle of those updates coming, there was a lot of things happening. It was kind of weird. Like, it's like if you pound a nail through a wall, and the wall's only like, 1 inch thick, and there's somebody else on the other side. That's kind of like how I felt like when it comes to new products. When they ship out new products, it's like they're pounding a nail into the wall, and then there's somebody else on the other side, and they're like, wait, what the heck is that nail? And
That's a good description, yeah.
well, and it could be maybe they don't have enough people on their team to test it enough. I don't know. It's
Maybe. Because whatever they've been messing with, I mean, Spaces has been buggy too. And it was bad. And then there was an update, and I was like, okay, because I kept getting thrown out of Spaces. So I ran the update, and that problem stopped. But what else is broken besides Sketch? We don't know.
you, I want to throw this out there to make sure that we don't. I'm not here to attack any engineers or employees, because I think it probably sounds like that sometimes. That's not my intention, but there was a time when you could put your name in on a list and become a beta tester. They don't have that anymore. It used to be really easy just to apply to be a beta, and they were actually hungry for. I mean, what a great system! If you get, let's say, 1,000 people to beta test a product before you ship it out, and they beta test it for free, you don't have to pay them. I mean, I don't know why they're. I mean, you would think they would have more of that, right? That's my
Yeah,
thought.
and pretty much any platform has that. I mean, I have or had, I don't know if they have anything new now, but I had beta access on my Substack. I was one of the first people to be able to post videos on there, and now that's gone live for everybody recently. So, I mean, yeah, why would you not? It's free help.
I don't know if so. Kayvon Bigpour, who was the founder of Periscope, he was the head of products, I think, at Twitter before he got fired. One of the things he talked about was retention, and that's in my title. What they had when he in relation to Periscope, which is the live stream platform, where they failed was retention, in terms of keeping people on their devices. And I want to say this, Tal. I feel I'm ready to make like an announcement, like, and it's not gonna be nice, and I feel like it's gonna hurt people's feelings. But I almost feel like live streaming is dead. If anything, on this platform, I'm not saying for people not to live stream, but I feel like because there's no support, although they're kind of trying to make like they are, but I don't see it. But Kayvon brought up something very powerful in his podcast, where he said that they didn't quite figure out in time how to utilize the massive ecosystem of Twitter, what they had to offer, and put it into the platform of Periscope, or vice versa. They didn't quite integrate the two. And what happened was, and it's funny because Kayvon sounds still till today very passionate about what they created, this teleportation device. And he said when they initially launched the product, it was really about taking somebody from Hawaii to Japan, or from Japan to the Ukraine, or from the United States to another country they've never been to. And that was the whole idea where the camera will be facing outward. And what he said was, over time, people weren't really doing that as much as they were in the beginning. They were more now sitting at a table or just showing their face and talking. And that kind of wasn't what they felt in terms of, it wasn't a retention keeper. I don't even know what the terminology, but it wasn't really increasing their retention rates. And
Maybe not as much of a draw, I guess. But that just, I mean, that depends on who it is, because we all had our various audiences, and then broadcasters like you and me, we were not exclusive to one genre. We were doing location stuff as well as talking.
yeah, so I think from like, let's use our use case. For us, it makes sense because we were very active on all fronts. Different, obviously now I do more sitting down. I try to, twice a week, try to get out and do something that's visual besides my face. But from a corporate standpoint, I kind of agree with him. But then he also said that they would experience these surges, these massive surges in daily active users, or the retention rates will kind of increase. And it was every time they launch in a new country. It's a very interesting podcast. If you haven't listened to it, it's a great video to watch or to listen to. But he talked about, they would go into Japan and then it would just explode, like unbelievably explode. They go to India, UK, Indonesia, all these different countries, and they would just totally. And so I remember watching that unfold. But then going back to what we're talking about the products, I'm going to use them as an example. It every time they launch a new product or shipped out a new product within the app, it was great for a moment, but then it's. I have a friend. I'm not going to say his name, and I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way, but I have friends and family that every year they do extravagant parties, and it's always something exciting, and they're great. They're fun. Well, the hard thing is if people know that, hey, every year at June I gotta go to Greg's house, they're gonna have a great party. It's like next year I gotta throw another party, and it's gotta be even better than last year. And there's that pressure to keep doing that. And at some point, people are gonna come just for the party, and then they're not gonna stay for the actual company. I feel like when it comes to them shipping out new products, not that they can be viewed as gimmicks. And people,
Yeah.
people get tired of, like, because even to this day, you ask anybody on Twitter that's not on Twitter, I almost guarantee they'll say the same thing. They'll be like, I don't quite understand Twitter. I don't get it. Like, I don't know if you get that. I get that a lot.
Interesting.
Or,
Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess most of the people that I talk to already have an account here, but everybody's got their favored platform. So I've got friends who Facebook is all they have, and so the conversation about this platform just doesn't even come up.
you
So I
know,
don't know.
here's a good, maybe this is not a good example. Maybe it is. So if I go to Facebook right now, I probably have like 20, 30, 40, 50 people that are on there that are family. And it's like a given. Like, all my family's on Facebook. I probably have one family member on Twitter active, and that's it. And it's my wife. Everybody else has either tried it and they're like, I don't quite get it. To maybe it's not. So that's the two
Yeah,
discrepancies.
it's a different environment. So yeah, it's the same for me. My family is on Facebook, and my brother has an account on this platform, and Jim has an account, but that's it. It's just the three of us. Nobody else in the family is on here. I wouldn't want my mom on this platform. She wouldn't want to be here. Um, and then Instagram has its own niche as well. My brother is on there. My niece is there. I'm there. Jim's there, but not really. Yeah, not my mom. My mom is strictly Facebook. So I have a very small family, so there's no way that I could have 50 relatives like you. But it is more that it's people I know from, the past, and mostly people from the lupus community, and they don't want anything to do with this platform.
I think so for those that don't remember, we talked about in our last spaces where there was a time when Twitter didn't even have video. I think around 2017, around that time, is when they started to launch video. And this is a good example that points back to the title, where is X shipping out too many products? So when Twitter launched video, it was literally competing with Vine, which is the company that they purchased. And so for those that don't know the history, for anybody that doesn't know what Vine is, I'll just in a nutshell call it a 7-second social media platform where people would create videos within 7 seconds. And of course, they increased it over time. But the popularity came from the 7-second videos where people were so creative within 7 seconds. Rudy Mancuso, who's those brothers? Oh my gosh, I keep forgetting the boxer. He's going to fight Mike Tyson. He fought Floyd Mayweather. Oh my gosh, what is her name? I'll remember.
Yeah, think of a name. I don't know.
Oh man. Anyways, they became YouTube sensations, but they started on Vine. Brittany Fulmer, I forget her name. So all these people made Vine were from that Vine era. So going back to the story, they had Vine. So Twitter owned Vine, but they kept the company separate, even though they were employed by Twitter. So you've got Vine employees, aka Twitter employees, in this same building, and then you've got another team that is under Twitter competing with Vine for a video product. And so now you've got supervisors on each team. That's where I was talking about before in the past, where like they never quite connected the dots. Like maybe they should have worked together, but they didn't have that. And that was a good example of what we're talking about, where like, why would Twitter come out with another product when you already have one? And looking back, I think they obviously mismanaged that one. And of course they messed up with Periscope as well, where they didn't.
Yeah. Wouldn't you think it was kind of a similar problem, wouldn't it?
Well, so that podcast is great. So what Kayvon talked about was Periscope was an amazing, like, they literally shaped the world of live streaming. What they didn't do, however, was they didn't follow through.
Yeah.
And so even Kayvon said that. Even the guy who interviewed him said, yeah, they didn't follow through. And the follow through was this, where being able to innovate within a platform, and obviously retention rates were important. And they didn't, and there was too much competition within the company. It was like, so one thing they brought up was they already had a live stream platform which is directed towards mobile users. Twitter forms another team to do the high end live stream product, which they were really pushing this NFL Thursday Night Football, I think it was called. And I thought about that. I said, wow, I remember that. They were heavily promoting the NFL live video product. And and what Kayvon was saying was, and I'm probably paraphrasing, that literally competed with the Periscope product. And I know he was being very nice about it, but really from what I'm understanding is that there was no unity within their own company when it came to products. And what I'm seeing today, perfect example. If they're saying, hey, we're going to launch this product, and yet it shuts off another. So if you remember when they were updating the spaces with video, it was affecting the live streamers. So
it was affecting everything.
Yeah. So good example.
Every time they would bring it up, everything was messed up. Okay, they'd take it out. Okay, it's back to normal. Then they'd bring it back up again. And I mean, like the third time, it was like, oh, I know what's going on. Yep, sure enough, video's back.
Well, perfect example. Hold on one second. Night, go, love you, son. I tell my son good night. Perfect example. They pound a nail through the wall, and there's somebody else on the other end. Like, what the heck?
That illustration is perfect. It really is.
Well, it's like so. Let me go. I'll go look it up. So they're launching a new product for iOS users with a new interface, and so I don't know his name, but Narwhal, I don't follow famous people, but he's a famous live streamer. He's friends with the founder of Chatter. Um,
Oh, Nelson.
yeah, and so I think his name is Narwhal, or I forget, some guy in the Middle East. But
Mm.
anyways, they're kind of giving you insight of what's coming, and it's the X Twitter news or whoever, and then there's the Doge designer person. I
Oh,
think he
okay.
posted, and so they're supposedly launching a new user interface for iPhone users.
Oh, boy.
And
Okay.
first thing I'm thinking is, okay, great. So do they have another team that?
We're both kind of like cringing, what's gonna happen. Yeah.
So to me, all those things, in my opinion, it does affect your daily active users. Meaning, if people are like, uh, man, I don't know if, like, good example, we have a community. So for people that don't know, we have a community of streamers. It's called Live Stream Community X on Twitter, and all it is a bunch of people that come together. And it's not that active. I mean, we've got like 141 now, or 142 people, and I would say probably 5 people within the entire community actually live stream actively.
143. Yeah, we've gotten up there. Yeah.
So, that's a very small percentage. And part of it, I think, is they don't use that platform. Maybe they'll check it once in a while. Um, and I think part of it is that user experience, that UX is not that great. Even till today, if you and I, who are veterans, are
Mm,
having issues, can you imagine somebody that doesn't know the platform and they're like, how do I use this? I mean, just the other day,
yeah.
Papa Bear, last week, he was using a live stream feature and nobody could comment that he didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's I've got a bone to pick with them about that. I one thing I really hate on any platform is when my default won't stay where I put it, where I want it. Facebook has made this mistake. If you open the comments section on any post, it defaults to top comments. I never have any purpose for that, ever, because it eliminates comments from the middle of subthreads, and I can't follow the conversation, so I always immediately switch it to all comments. Well, we've got the same problem here. Every time you start a broadcast, I did it today. I forgot to switch it hearts on, and everyone can comment, which is not actually everyone. It's everyone with an iPhone. So, yeah, fix the defaults, fix the fact that Android users can't participate. I just don't want to see anything new. I want that fixed.
so what would you say is the number one topic on Twitter X when it comes to content creators? If you was to brainstorm, if you, like, I know what my answer is, but if there was one topic that people are always concerned about when it comes to a content creation on X, what would you say?
As far as problems with it,
Problems or just topics of discussion? If you had a top three topic of discussion on X, in
well, monetization for one thing, like
okay,
people waiting for subscriber status like I am.
okay, what would your
Yeah,
number two be, or number whatever? What's your next one?
bugs.
Bugs, okay,
Yeah.
and what's your last one?
Mm. Well, engagement is in there somewhere, definitely. People are screaming about engagement.
So I would say engagement and algorithm and metrics, right? So
Yeah.
that's always the number one topic, I think, when it comes, just as a whole, whether we think about it or not, but we're always thinking about it, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Algorithm, everybody, that's the magic word for all
Because I
these.
mean, what's the purpose for the platform if you can't reach the people that you wanna reach, right?
Well, as I always preach, algorithm is not some magical mythical beast, right? It's an
Yeah.
actual program with a list of commands, and I'm totally butchering,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. And literally able it's literally uh, they're able to actually manipulate it by just inputting a command, or there's a team, or I don't know how many, that adjusts the algorithm to suit the needs
Mhm.
for the masses, you would think, but I think more so for X and it's the platform in itself. It's to protect the platform from dying. I mean, let's just put it point blank. If the algorithm
Yeah.
is not healthy for the platform, it will die.
Yeah, true.
And so there's a middle ground. Well, how do you please the content creators and also not kill the platform with a bunch of fake metrics, right? Glamour metrics or bots, as people say. So
That's the going question. Yeah.
so
I am I'm always surprised at who is it that keeps posting the stuff about the code? Is it Alex Finn?
Alex Finn,
I'm
and
always surprised at that stuff. I don't know how much of it's accurate.
well, I don't know him personally, and I don't like or dislike him. I don't follow
Yeah.
him, but I do see his content. And I actually do read it, and I do send his um whatever he posts. I send it out, right? I send it out to
Yeah.
have it not. I don't want to use the wrong word, but I basically send it out to my friends and ask, hey, what do you think? And they'll check, and they're like, yeah, it kind of makes sense, but that's one person's interpretation of it. And so,
Yeah.
with all due respect, that's great. He's doing that. I personally
Oh
don't.
yeah, definitely.
I'm trying not to get moved by that because it's easy to be moved by that because then you're gonna adjust your, your, I call it DMO or daily method of operation on how you do things because you can be like, oh man,
Yeah.
uh,
I don't change my behavior very much regardless of what I see on that. It's like I look at it and go, "Oh, well, that sucks. Next." And I just keep doing what I'm doing anyway because I mean, it works for me. But that last one that he recently put out it gave me pause. It was like, "Why in the world?" Some of that stuff it should not deboost us. It's not right.
well, whether that's true or not, um, it shouldn't change anything. Now, in the long run, it depends on how much time you're putting on the platform, first of all. But, for me, it's like, okay, I'll just say it. I don't subscribe to that type of post immediately only because, and I'm not saying this is his position, but if I were a content creator that wanted to build a lot of engagement, I'm going to post content that invigorates you or it causes you to be like, wait, what? You know what I mean? That's what I would do if I was, and I'm not saying he cares or doesn't care, but like I said, I just, that's part of that to me looks like it's behavior to generate people to listen or to watch.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I've commented before about, uh boy, I'm losing my terminology here. I can't stand for people to post the stupid questions that are just engagement farming. That's the words I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not talking about the kind of engagement farming that most people think of, with bots and stuff. But also just really don't like the, if all you ever do is post dumb questions because people will jump in and argue. I don't have a purpose for following an account that does that.
Well, in regards to and we're not talking about Alex Finn only, but some of those things that he, I guess people look at my content and they're like, you do a lot of different things. And that's kind of how I feel on some of the things that he does. And I think he was open about one of the things he did. Because he'll talk about Gaza, for example. He'll do spaces on the Gaza Strip. And then the next day he'll do products on tech. I
Yeah.
mean, so I'm like, at face value, I'm like, okay, this is, if you're passionate about that's great, but it also looks like it's to generate, what's the word? Not just impressions, but even retention. People like check it out, right? So that's why I'm
Yeah.
not moved by somebody posting code on Twitter because let's be very honest. If I was an engineer at Twitter and we had a team of people and they're like, look, they just posted our stuff they put it on blast.
You'd change it,
Right.
right?
Yeah, change it. So I'd be like, just change it. It doesn't take that. It's not that hard to change it. Just go in there and change it. You know. And so, but going back to the algorithm, because that's one of the things that people talk about, and retention is that's a big deal. You know, I always preach about, I always talk about viewer retention or retention rates in regards to live streaming, because, and mine's pretty low right now. And for whatever reason, whether it's bots or people just don't care, but my viewer retention rate, the average time watched per viewer, has been consistently low, which is totally fine, because I am on several different platforms, so it's not like all my eggs are in this basket. But when you have so many different things going on, like you said, like what we talked about in the beginning, when there's so many different things going on Twitter, and they're promising new products, to me, the amount of time people stay on a platform is going to drop. Now, fortunately, I think Spaces is one of the reasons why they're able to have a quote unquote high retention rate, daily active users, because there is
Yeah.
an addictive nature to Spaces, extremely addictive nature to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you agree or disagree, but have you felt that there is some form of an addictive nature to Twitter Spaces?
For people who are prone to that, yeah. I mean, it doesn't mean anything to me, because I mean, I'm going to spend whatever time I spend on whatever platform I want to. That's not my nature. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not if I don't have time for something, I just don't have time for it.
So
I'm not
here's
falling all over myself.
here's a funny thing. Once in a great while, I'll look at a thing on my feed, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and I'll jump in, and my wife gets in the car or we're doing something, I'm like, I'll just turn the volume down. I close it out, and you know what? I didn't realize I've been on it for like an hour, 2 hours, and people must be thinking, wow, this guy is on here all day. But the truth is, I'm not even on it. But then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that is so genius.
I mean, if anybody notices, I don't know.
Well, no, well, I tell you who does notice. Um, Elon Musk notices when he's got 600. Let me just do the math. Hold on. Let me talk to my phone. Who can I talk to? I'll talk to Siri. I have Siri and Google. Hold on. Hey Siri, what
Mhm.
what is 620 million divided by 30?
It's approximately 20,666,000.
Okay, so let's just ballpark. So 20 million users a day. Okay. I don't know what the actual retention rate is in regards to Spaces, but that is genius. And I know there's more to the story, but if I was one of the department heads of Twitter, and I'll go to our next board meeting and say, look, Elon, we got 20 million daily users and they're on Twitter at least 5 hours a day. That is a very high retention rate, extremely high. Okay, hold on one second. Let me tell my son good night. So 20 million active users, and they're all on there. Let's say, even if they're on there for an hour. What a great, I mean, see, with live stream, we talked about the other day, like live streaming, you can't technically be on a live stream and just walk around and do stuff. People have done it, of course, but like I can't go to the lake or to the ocean and go live and say, hey fam, what's up? I'm here at the beach, and then, start going about my day. I have to end the live stream. However,
Yeah, I mean, those of us who've been live streaming a long time have done very long scopes like that in the past, but yeah, nobody really has that kind of energy for it now, I don't think. I mean, not with this platform. We did with Periscope.
well, let's pick on Dr. Heath, because he's a pickable person. Brother Man is on Spaces every single day for at least an hour.
True.
At
Because he's
least.
got his midday mindset and
Yeah.
then everything else he does. Yeah.
So if we use him as an example, if people like Dr. Heath are on every single day, that is a great metric to measure by. And Spaces allows people to do other things and still be on a platform. Now the problem comes when, what happens when they start doing live video? with really a good user experience. Does that mean that there's going to be less people on Spaces? I don't know.
That's a good question.
Right? So let's pretend for a moment that Twitter actually did care about the live stream portion of their application. Let's pretend that they actually did care 100% and they actually devoted teams to it. Because they could fix it by next week if they wanted to. If they really, really wanted to, they could fix it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they could.
Yeah. If they devoted time and resources to it, sure. Because they haven't focused on it. That's the only reason that it hasn't happened. Yeah.
So if let's say they do fix it, what are they to gain by fixing it?
Well, I mean, anything that you fix, people are going to want to use it more.
Okay, so let's agree that they'll use it. I don't think that it'll be used as much as Spaces will in terms of time. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree because, as you pointed out, I mean, if you're on camera, your activities are more limited, particularly for those of us who don't necessarily want to show everything in our home or where we're going or what we have, Yeah. And women especially, they're going to be more careful about that.
But this is what I do believe also. I think that would be a mistake for them to not focus on live streaming. Because every other platform, let's use this stat for example. I'm going to look up this chart. So if Twitter is I'm going to say they're at the bottom. They're literally at the bottom, right? Still, as of April 2024. And this is not a biased statistic. So if I'm going to read this chart. Facebook is number 1. They have live streaming. YouTube is number 2. They have live streaming. Now that's not all they do. WhatsApp, I don't think they do. They might. I don't have WhatsApp, so.
Yeah, I've never had that platform, so I have no idea what it is.
Instagram has live streaming, and it's actually really good. At least I think it is.
Yeah, I've used it quite a bit.
And it's not buggy. It's not buggy for me. It's not.
It's not buggy, but I don't have the reach either. I don't get as many people involved.
Yeah, and TikTok, I've never used it, but I've watched. It's got live streaming. WeChat, I don't know if they do. And then of course the guys at the bottom. So the top 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. The top 5, 80% of them have live streaming. And everybody at the bottom of the barrel, they don't. So, and Twitter, let's just go ahead and be honest. Twitter doesn't have a live stream platform. Like it's just barely dangling on.
They have it, but they need to focus on it a little bit. You know what? I don't feel like they have to do all that much. It's not. Honestly, we're not asking for that much. Especially when you figure the things we're asking them to fix are things that we already had. We're not asking them to implement something new. Just fix it, right? How hard is that?
So what products are that? So they're launching, at least by rumor, they're launching a conferencing feature. Okay, so that's going to give people the ability to have Zoom meetings on Twitter. Of course, they have video with Spaces, which is, I don't think that's really used in like very minimal. They're promising a new product for iPhone users in regards to live streaming. They're talking about payments on X, meaning you can do, secure payments through digital currency.
Yeah.
What else? Shopping is kind of active. I have it on my profile, but I don't generate
Yeah,
a lot.
I still need to set up. I still need to get some products in my Teespring so that I can do that. I just have not. With all the stuff going on with my car, I just feel spread too thin, finding the time and energy to do that one more thing, but it is an important thing. Yeah.
So if they're promising all these products and services, but we still can't get those products that we already have to work well, I don't even know because I don't work there, but we you and I both know people that work there. I will make an educated guess that perhaps there are teams that are not on the same page. Maybe there's a leadership that's under, Elon, that maybe they're trying to push this product out, or I don't know how it works. I do know that there's
Mhm.
Kayvon Bigpour talked about they incentivized different products that the teams would push. So he was talking about
Mm.
when they started. So when they started Spaces, so when Kayvon Bigpour said when they started Spaces, I think they had a team of like 5 people, 4 people, and nobody even knew or cared what they were working on.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, they actually were working on Spaces before Clubhouse was actually live.
Mm.
So they actually had their product before Clubhouse. It's just that they didn't push it out. They didn't refine it, or they didn't finish it, basically. So, they had a small team. And then when they finally figured out, hey, this is a great way for, because people want to just hang out and talk. That was the whole justification of Spaces, was that the live streaming, as great as it was, a lot of people just wanted to hang out and talk and have conversations, which I agree. That
Which
part,
it has its place. It does, but sometimes sometimes I have to wonder, it's like, what do you ever pop in and just listen to something anonymously to see if you actually wanna join?
yeah,
I mean, that's what I do
yeah,
sometimes,
I do it a
and
lot.
yeah, and I pop in and I'm like, "No one's talking." Literally, no one is talking. They're all just sitting there staring at their screens doing nothing. I'm like, "Why?" At that point, hang it up. Go for a walk. So in that regard, then yeah, there is something going on that with some people that they're a little too hooked on it if you gotta sit there and do absolutely nothing with, you're connected to this room.
Well,
At least have an intelligent conversation.
the other product that they're talking about launching is a live chat stream within Spaces. So I don't even know. Like, I seen a screenshot of it.
Mm.
I don't
I don't
think
know
that's.
about that.
I don't even know the details. I just don't think it's a great idea,
No, it
because
sounds like a very bad idea.
who's going to read 1,000 comments?
Nobody, and I don't want to. I don't want that. Look, we've got the little chat bubble if you wanna type something and people can read it. There's no way that I can have a conversation or listen to a conversation and read comments at the same time. The only reason that works in live stream broadcasting is because you're not listening to other voices. You're the only one with a microphone.
Well, you know how they can make it work right now, because it actually they have it already for the live product. Okay, so if you are on desktop, you can actually um you can do both, like within a live
Mm.
chat, and also you can do a actual
I
tweet.
mean, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, people will
It's a
have,
bad
yeah,
idea.
people will have an audio. Can you imagine trying to have an audio conversation, and like
Ugh,
the chat bubble is like
no,
exploding?
it's a nightmare. And then the first thing I'm gonna say is, "Can I turn it off?
So here's a
Can I get
question
rid of it? Because I don't wanna see it."
that goes back to the title. Are they shipping out too many products? I think they are, because
Yeah.
let's say I'll use Dr. John as a great example. He's not a private profile. He's very public. He's a clinical psychologist for 35 years. If
Mhm.
people like Dr. John, whose livelihood is based on talking to people, if even he can't stand Spaces because of certain features that are already there in regards to content, can you imagine people are like, if they launch this product with a moving chat bubble while
Yeah.
people are talking? That's going to
Okay,
bring.
see, this is the reason that I didn't like some of the other live stream platforms too, like, Haps and Busker. There was too much crap on the screen. And once I found out I could turn some of that off in Haps, I was like, "Where are the switches? Shut it all off, because it's too much distraction."
Well, the one I can't remember the name of it because I was on it, but it was getting kind of creepy and weird. What was the name of it? It was one of the first ones that offered very live animations. I can't remember the name of it, but
I can't remember the name, but I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
they came under fire just because of predatory type behavior that it encouraged.
No,
Because
that was, I didn't say it the other day, but that was part of the issue with HAPS. There was some really bad stuff going on there.
well, like there was a lot of predatory behavior in regards to underage girls, for example.
Yes,
And then
that's what I mean. Yeah.
well, because and another thing is that chat stream had comments popping up, and then also every time you would donate money, all these animations would fill up the screen.
Yeah.
So I think what that does, though, it does build a total increase of total viewership. But going back to the retention, right? So that puts a let's look at it from a business perspective. It's great that so anybody that looks at Twitter live streaming, if you look at it right now, you notice that the number keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And like, how in the world do they go from 20 viewers and I come back an hour later and now they have 1,000 people watching? That's insane. No, it's a total live viewership, right? So
yeah, it is.
so here's the question: is that deliberate or is that an accident? Right?
And there's no way for us to know because there's not enough actual transparency. No matter what they say, it just isn't there.
So
Yeah.
let's pretend for a second that it's an accident and nobody knows. Which, yeah, no, I don't think so. So somebody knows, right? Why would you do that? I would do that if it was my company and I needed to increase the image of there's a lot of people watching, right? But then the problem is, are they actually staying in there and hanging out, or are they just checking it out because it looks, shiny and fancy or whatever? So going back to the retention rate, if your retention rate drops, you're going to lose daily active users. So now they're not going to be on there every day. They're going to be on there every 3 days, maybe every week or every other week. And that's something I'm seeing more now. And then people always attribute it to other things like, oh, I've been through, I was going through some stuff or whatever, and they'll come back, or I've been busy, right? And those are legitimate reasons, but it does still go back to the point of, if you ship out too many products, you overwhelm people with products that don't work well, they're not going to hang out, right? So if they don't hang out as long, then they're not going to be on there every day. So that's where I came up with that title. I just don't think, like, you've got a broken product, so obviously fix what you have first.
Mm-hmm.
And without getting political, it's kind of like I saw in the headlines today where our president was, and I'm sure there's a lot of political narrative, rhetoric, discussion, but talking about accepting certain refugees from the Middle East and making it officially legal to accept them, which means they can come and stay in a country. And I don't know, I'm not in politics, so I'm not going to, but it's interesting though that you would have a headline like that where we would accept other types of refugees when we already have it. We have issues already. And it's the same with our products on Twitter, X, right? Why would you do that? I don't know.
Yeah, it comes back to the same thing. Fix what you've got.
So if anybody is listening on audio, if you are an Android user, would you make up for 70% of the world's population that actually uses Android devices? You would not have a seamless user experience on Twitter or X, which is very ironic. If you have an iPhone, you will have a great experience on Twitter because there's a lot of support for people that are on iPhones. Hold on one second. I'm going to hug my daughter real quick. So,
so is that the correct percentage of users on this platform, or just in general?
I don't know about the platform. I should go look it up, but I do know on a global scale, Androids make up for 70%. And a lot of that obviously is pricing, right? Because you can get
Yeah.
a good Android device for $100. So I don't I do know why at least Twitter, why they don't really fix the Android product is because it's going to be one or two things. Either they don't know how, or they don't want to. I mean, I think it's that simple.
It seems like all the platforms favor Apple products, but I am not clear on the reason for that. I have heard the statement before that it's basically easier to update stuff for iPhones than for Android, but I don't know if that's true.
No, that is true because so iPhones are what they call closed source, meaning nobody can just come in and like mess around with their operating system, like and they can't just create something and put it on a Apple store on an App Store. You actually have to have a good product. If you create an Android product, which is it's an open source, all that means is that the software is open for discussion. I'm using really crude words. It's open for discussion.
Okay.
Hey, I want to do. Go ahead here. Just take our code and take our product and make what you want with it. And so there's a lot of products on the Android market or the Play Store they call. They are really shady products. Like you don't know if they're actually remotely hacking your accounts. Um, Whereas, at least that's the one thing I say good about Apple is that they do have a good grip on that. Like they don't have shady products that will like blow up your phone, right? So, but that being said, I've never had an issue on Facebook or TikTok or YouTube.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, I have a great experience on those other apps with my Android device.
Yeah.
And with my iPhone, it's reliable, but on my Android, I love using it on the other app. It's just on Twitter, it's very poor. It has a very poor user experience. So I have a feeling that from a organizational standpoint, they just don't care about the Android users. Um,
Which raises the question, why?
I don't know, but historically for the live streaming, they always had issues, but at least they responded quickly with updates as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Until the end.
yeah.
Yeah. Until they didn't, in other words.
So those are the products I know offhand is that they're launching they're talking about launching um the live chat within Spaces, um adding
Mm.
conferencing and something else I forget. Oh, and then so on desktop, and I'm pretty sure it was a mistake because I don't know if you remember, I was doing testing with video on Spaces with the
Yeah.
desktop and also screen share. So there was a screen share button, but of course it wasn't working. So
See, okay. It was great that, oh, you can do Spaces from desktop now. It was great for Joshua Busby because for him to use his phone, his wife needs to assist him. On the desktop, he's self-sufficient. But they I'm gonna say it, they half-assed it. They did because, like, that first space that he did, man, he thought everybody was super excited to talk because it looked like everybody's hand was up the whole time.
yeah.
So, he can't tell if your hand is up or not. Either it looks like everyone's hand is stuck up, or it looks like nobody's hand is up. He can't tell. So, why can they not launch it functional ever, ever? This was the same problem in Periscope. I had a running joke with that. Hey, they fixed this issue. What are the other 3 they broke? It was literally that bad.
I think there's two things. One, maybe they don't have enough employees or teams, or um, I'll just put on Elon. Maybe Elon's listening to the wrong people, or I don't know. It's kind of like
It
you.
feels like that issue, that problem has not changed. And so, is it that the people that do that to us are in the group that didn't get fired?
Well,
I have to say it.
so I'm gonna land the plane in a minute or two. I think here's a silver lining I will say amidst all of this is
Yeah.
for anybody that's considering using Twitter or X, I wouldn't be discouraged by by the title. I will say if you've got a community that you have, or maybe you don't have one, maybe you want to build one, it still comes out to the content creators at the end of the day. Whether you build your career off of Twitter or you go into another platform, I'm a firm believer that you have to have at least a 5-toe footprint. I know that sounds kind of weird. I don't know why I came up with that, but you gotta have at least a 5.
It's true, though.
And
It's true, yeah.
your biggest toe should be where you're getting the most engagement. I don't know what your other toe. So
Which for me has been Instagram for a long time.
yeah,
And
then,
it still is, to be honest. I mean, I've got a lot more here now, but when it comes to quality engagement, if we're talking about typed posts, if we're talking about text, my best stuff is still on Instagram. I have fantastic verbal conversations with people here, but I don't know that my engagement is that great on posts. Yeah.
I think with Twitter, nobody knows. Like that's a question. Nobody knows. There's no consistency on quote unquote algorithms. There's no consistency on metrics. Like on Instagram, at least I know this. If I post up a picture that looks beautiful, I know that somebody's going to look at it at some point, right? And whether it's 1,000 likes or even 100, I know that people are going to look at it.
Yeah.
On Twitter, you don't know what you're going to get. Even
No clue.
and
Yeah.
people are killing themselves by being on here every single day, 2 to 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
Um,
See, this is what I've said. That's why I'm not like, that's not in the forefront of my mind. Ooh, I got to make money today. No, I've never logged in here going, I got to make money today. When I was fundraising, that was on Periscope. So if that were in the forefront of my mind, yeah, I would be wrecking myself too. And I'm not going to do that. It has to be about your content. And then if you get some money out of it, cool.
well, I will say for me, getting more deliberate on sharing or producing or delivering content, it's been something that I'm a little bit more deliberate about. Even if I'm just
Yeah.
talking or doing a live stream, everything for me is always about the end result, which is obviously connections and relationships. But the vehicle that I'm using is talking about Twitter.
Mhm.
Is that I hope somebody reaches out to me at some point and say, hey, thank you for sharing this. Would you mind praying for me? Or somebody says, hey, I saw that you're selling this or that. Well, what's your promo code again? That there's always something. And
Yeah.
I think that I'm using this from that TV show. There's a law enforcement TV show. I forget what it's called. It's got Tom Selleck, his whole family. They're all cops. And so they always refer to their jobs as the family business. So like for me and my wife, we're in the business of relationships. Whether it's through business or through ministry or social media, it's all about relationships. And so there's always that approach. I don't want to say angle, but there's always that approach. And I want to encourage, and I'll give you a couple minutes to share your heart before we close it out. But for anybody that's listening, what we're talking about is X or Twitter shipping out too many products, expensive DAU, daily active users, viewer retention, metrics, algorithms. I will answer that question and say, yes, they are. And however, I will say to encourage anybody that's listening to continue putting out material on Twitter or X, as long as you're not consuming more than you're producing. If you're a content creator, now if you're somebody that just wants to enjoy other people, that's fine. But I will just encourage people to build a decent sized footprint on other socials, just because there are other people that, especially if you're a content creator, not everybody understands Twitter or X, right? Now, do what you feel led to do, but I just want to encourage everybody listening that, yeah, I do believe they're shipping out too many products. I think they should fix what they have. But I'm still here, still want to produce content, and whether people, I don't care if I go viral or not. I'm here to make sure that I put out something that I feel led to do. And if God has me here for a season, I'm definitely going to do it well. So that's where I stand. Tala, I'll give you the last couple of minutes and we'll close it out.
Yeah. So I kind of adopted what you used to say about the importance of the one. And that's never gone out of my mind. I I know what it is to be isolated. I know what it is to be in a tremendous amount of pain. I know what it is to really just have no one, no support, no nothing, if you don't have a large family with a lot of cousins around like my mom grew up with, I didn't have that. And when I became so ill that I couldn't even take care of myself in the most basic ways, um, having communication online was all I had. And there are a lot of people in that position now. Um, so my promise has always been I'm not going anywhere, and I decided a couple of years ago I'm going to make this my platform because I've worked on all the others. And that's why I've put more time and energy into it here. I mean, you can find me on any of the major platforms, and most of my content is on Instagram, but a lot more of it is here too. So I just I just would like to see more people focus on really getting themselves right and straightened out. It's like they want to build a house, but they didn't start with the foundation. And when you do that, it will collapse over and over and over, right? So if you get to work on that foundation, then like what's happening for me now, the content and the connections and all of that growth is going to be a natural outpouring from that. It's going to happen a lot easier. Instead of getting in here and going, I have to grind, grind, grind every day, and you're wearing yourself out and you're like, gotta make money, gotta make money. Do your 9 to 5 if you need to. Don't hate on people for that. That 9 to 5 pays the bills. It's set aside some time for the rest of what's going on here. Don't destroy yourself. You don't have to be, you're not Mr. Beast. You don't need to be Mr. Beast. He's got his own thing going. He's quite gifted in what he does, but he's got this whole foundation already set up. So I think that it's super important to just work on you and let this be a natural outpouring. Um, if you try to force it, it's just gonna collapse. Yeah.
Well, Tala was talking about foundations, and it's funny she says people want to build a house, but they don't build the foundation first. And I hope this is not a bad joke, but I notice here in the mainland, there's a lot of people uh, that don't build their foundations. They park the RV wherever they can find an open space, so, especially in Portland. There's a lot of people that don't have foundations, but they have houses, and it's a little
Yeah,
joke.
here too.
Yeah, it's a little joke for the city of Portland. But, in all seriousness, family, like people like Mr. Beast, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was very transparent on one of his podcasts. He said that because Tucker Carlson asked him, how many years did you do this before you actually started to make money? He says, it took me 5 years. Like, he spent 5 years not making any money. And then he realized, hey, wait a minute, I can make some money. But that took that time. The good thing for people like us, like, if that's not your calling in life and you just want to share content, by all means do it. But for me and my wife, we want to do it with excellence. We want to make sure that, like we said, like we are in the business. Our family business is all centered around relationships, whether socials, ministry, business. But we do have a cheat code, and that cheat code is what those people have paved the way before us. So in the area of the title is X shipping too many products, no matter what our opinions are, I still want to encourage our listeners to keep putting out content that you're passionate about and don't chase the algorithm, the mighty mythical beast in the sky. Just keep putting out things that are of value. For me personally, putting things of value, but being a blessing in the process, because we're blessed. And we want to make sure that wherever you are, I just pray that for people that are listening, that if you're in a dark place and maybe you don't know what to do and maybe you're going through some tough stuff, that we're available. And whether you're just on socials because maybe you don't have a good organic personal life and you need something, I want to encourage you, and I'll throw this out there. I want you to seek the Lord, ask God to give you insight. Like, where does he want you to like put your time, or is there something more to that? So that's my closing. I want to thank you guys for being here. As a reminder, this audio spaces podcast that you've been listening to has been brought to you by Archon Mounts. They are one of my product sponsors. It's arkon.com. If you want to buy some products from them, tripods, mounting solutions, use the promo code Hawaii. That's HAWAII at checkout, and you get 20% off your entire order. Also, our merch is up in our store. We got some new products we just launched within the past week. And we got t-shirts, coffee mugs, and a bunch of other cool stuff. So go to therealgilo.com. Links are in the bio, in descriptions as well. Very grateful for you being here. Very grateful to Tala being one of the speakers. From the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for your time. All the likes, shares, reposts, all that good stuff. But most importantly, thank you for your time. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your evening, day, morning, whatever time it is in your time zone. I am Brother Greg, aka The Real Gilo. We will see you on the next one. God bless you guys. Love you guys. Ohui ho. Aloha and mahalo. Yes, sir.